Welcome back to your favorite St. Louis sports podcast, The Lunatics. We're here to go over all of the exciting things that we've had happen and some less exciting things that have happened. But this being our first episode we recorded since the Kansas City debacle, I'm excited to kind of discuss what else has been going on in St. Louis sports, as well as some rumors in the Cardinals camp as to what might be to come this offseason. John, what do you have?
Not a lot. Not a lot. Like you said, we've got good news. We've got bad news. Probably heard the bad news by now if you follow the same sports we do. And then we've also got some what the fuck news out of the Cardinals. So that's where I want to start because I think it's hilarious that our last episode, we went through this whole thing about the moves Mo was going to make to get his 3 starting pitchers that he's promised us for months. And then first, he comes out and says, well, maybe we don't get 3 starting pitchers. Maybe we only go out and get 2 starting pitchers. He kind of walked that back, but he said that on Monday, and everyone was like, what the hell? And then he follows that up immediately with just sending cash to the Mariners for a pitcher, but not the one we want. So I'm just really, really upset. And I'm sure, okay, so Brian Riley is a relief pitcher that is not young. This can't be the right relief pitcher. This is not the right relief pitcher. It's a common
Either
name.
way,
I've got his name backwards.
Yeah, you do. And he went out and he got a guy. This is not going to be the guy to fill the rotation holes, right? This might be an invitation to spring training guy. He had a good year down in the minors.
Right.
This isn't the signing that we're looking for, right? This isn't what we're expecting. This isn't what we need if we're going to be a team that's really even in the playoff discussion for next year.
Right. Yeah, I typed in Brian Riley. His name's Riley O'Brien. So I got a guy born in the mid 1970s, and I'm like, damn, this guy's still pitching. I don't even think Wayno's that old. And how do I not know who this guy is?
Honest to God, I want that guy because that seems more like a Mo move.
That is a class A Mo move. But in addition to that, we also claimed the second baseman Jared Young from the Cubs. I don't know anything about him, but we claimed him off of waivers. But I don't know. We have quite a bit of middle infield guys, but not really. I don't know. It doesn't feel like we have a lot of depth there, but it feels like we have a lot of prospects there. You know what I mean?
We have a lot of depth in players that can play or are playing the middle infield at the major league level.
Right.
We have a few in the minors that are kind of the top end, but below that, there's not really a lot of guys that get you excited.
This guy is the second base version of Paul DeYoung.
Yeah. And we saw how that experiment went. It was either really good or really bad at the plate, right? I love me some Paul D. There at the end, though, he wasn't the player we needed him to be.
No.
And, I was a very strong voice in saying we needed to move on.
Yeah. No,
So with that going, there's a lot of discussions and talk around the league about where players might land. Aaron Nola, it seems like Cardinals are the favorite if he does not return to Philly. So I don't know what that entails. I don't know if Aaron Nola is the guy for us with what he's shown the last few seasons. If you had a choice between Aaron Nola or bringing Monty back, who are you going after?
I'm going after Monty.
Oh, 100%.
And I think their cost is relatively similar too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and don't get me wrong, like I do like Aaron Nola. I think last year was a bit of a down year. But Monty, he's a fan favorite. He's gone out and done it at the highest levels. He's always out there, right? He stays healthy.
And he's younger.
And he's younger. Yeah. I think if we're going to go out and spend, and I've heard it, Nola, mostly because of the durability, he's kind of projected to be the most expensive starting pitcher other than Shohei this year. And I think Monty's probably going to be pretty close to that now after the way he just showed out in the playoffs and in the World Series. But yeah, Monty is the guy for us, I think. Should be the guy for us. I don't think we get him, but that's who we should be chasing. And I've heard Nola could easily reach like 180, 200 mil across the entire contract.
Yeah, and Yamamoto is quickly pricing himself out of the Cardinals leagues. I know you said that Nola looks like the most expensive with posting fees plus stuff. I mean, Yamamoto's like 24, 25, something like that. I think he's 25. And teams are starting to realize, oh, this guy's stuff is really good. And I think he's going to end up signing the largest contract out of the group. Again, it's sounding more and more to me coming out of Cardinals camp that we're signing one and we're going to trade for one. If we sign two, if we get a third, it's definitely via the trade. And it's really who do you trade and what type of a pitcher do you need out of that trade? Because that really comes down to who you sign, right? If you sign two top of the rotation guys, you can trade for a mid-level rotation guy and just be fine. But if you sign two, mid rotation or a top and a mid to lower rotation type starter, then you have to go out and make that trade for that other big top end starter. And that's where I can't wait to see what happens and who we trade, to see how those discussions fly on here.
Yeah. Well, either way, I'm going to pretend like we made a bet about the trade, even though I know we did not make a bet because I don't think what you predicted is going to happen. But I do think that's the play. I think that you go out and you get one top of the rotation guy right off the bat. You get another guy who's maybe not top of the rotation, but is serviceable on the free agent market. I think that that's reasonable that we can do that. And then that third, finding that third guy on the trade market, now you kind of have a little bit of leverage. You're not as desperate as you were before. You don't have to give up as much. And since the quality you're looking for is not as high, you can keep our young core intact. So I think that that's the play that we should go for. And I do have to say, historically, Mo has done very well with trades coming in. He's not done as well with some of the people that we've sent out. And I think the concerns and complaints there are well documented. But let's not forget, this is a guy who traded pieces to the Diamondbacks, all of whom have been released in exchange for Paul Goldschmidt, and who convinced the Rockies to pay us to take Nolan Arenado. So and not just a small amount, $50 million. So, I mean, he's had some wins.
Again, Mo wouldn't be in the seat he's in if he was a complete idiot. I just think that I could do his job better.
And for a lot less money.
Honest to God, yeah. I don't know what they're paying him, but give me half.
I do it for pride.
I need more than pride. I got bills to pay, but you get the idea.
That's true.
You're paying Mo $20 million a year. Cool, I'll do it for $5 million.
Right, exactly. Just $5 million. You know what? We can take that $15 million and invest it in players. Yeah,
I'm going to use that to go sign one of these pitchers.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's all for the team right here.
So for any of our listeners, we could start a petition. I will have, you know what? John and I will do it for combined co-GM for a combined $5 million a year.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even show up to my job tomorrow.
They wouldn't even get a notice.
Yeah, no.
I would text my boss and I'd be like, dude, I'm running the front office of the Cardinals now. I'm out. Peace.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I got to start now. It's a big job. Bye.
I got some trades to make. Deuces.
Right. We think of ourselves in this situation as like Billy Bean, right? But it would obviously be a total fiasco.
Oh God,
it would be so bad.
I would be all in, man. Although those first 6 months, I wouldn't see my family. I would be watching and reading every piece of everything on every player I could find, getting to know my scouting people. I think that's really what it comes down to, though, right? if you have a good, solid scouting department, people who are
Hmm.
keeping your front office in line, they know what's going on, and you can trust them, hell yeah, you're probably going to do really well in trades
Yeah.
because those guys know what's going on with your players and the other team's players. We used to have a really good guy who was great with analytics and in charge of scouting and player development, named Jeff Lunhow, who now runs the Astros, and you can see what he's done there. But early in the Mo days, that's who we had, and that makes a big deal. So
Yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong. It's the Cardinals really, I think we still do a good job of scouting. I don't think we do as good of a job developing on the pitching side. I think we've done a pretty decent job the last 5 or 6 years developing hitters, um, or at least scouting and picking right for hitters. But I don't think we've done as well with helping pitchers take that next step. So I don't know.
yeah, I feel like there's just something in what we're coaching and what we're bringing players up with on that swing and miss side that we just don't have it. And maybe it's just we haven't had the right guys. I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
With all that said, there's a lot still to come, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about it for the next few months until spring training hits, whether the
Hmm.
Cardinals did it right or wrong. If any of our listeners start that petition, I will sign it myself if you get it going. But I feel wrong starting a petition to get myself instated as the GM of the Cardinals. So,
You want me to do that for you?
yeah, if you start it, I'll sign it, John. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I'll
You
I'll,
may
I'll
only
do
have
that.
one signature, but I'll be the one to
Right.
sign.
Big letters, John Hancock style.
So the
Um,
most exciting team I feel like in St. Louis for the past 6 to 8 months, their season came to an end last weekend. So St. Louis City did lose to Kansas City. Excuse me, Kansas. So Sporting Kansas, we went there. We did not play a terrible game.
we
I
played
don't want
mostly fine.
we had a couple of moments where we did some things that we shouldn't have, and they capitalized, and that is what it is. you know what I wanted to see happen in the first game against Kansas City was I wanted to see Celio come in at half
Hmm.
and come in and try to be a difference maker. And this is the one thing, of course, me wanting to talk about Celio is Celio came in at the half this game and he was a difference maker. He brought something that we don't have, right? It's a different skill set. His ability to beat people off the dribble. And he was beating people off the dribble. He was
Right.
getting into dangerous positions. He was putting balls in front of the goal. You saw the header that he put in, the cross he put in for Klaus that he put on goal with that header.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether he was shooting or just trying to put a dangerous ball in at the back post, but either way, the ball went into the net. He's creating goals. Uh, he's a difference maker, and he's somebody we have options on. And over these next couple of weeks, we're going to know, I think we have till the 22nd to pick up options on players. So if we do not pick up the option on Celio, I am going to be livid and picketing out in front of City Park.
Right. I think we're gonna, well, listeners, just so you know, we will have, similar to how we did our Cardinals roster discussion, we will have a St. Louis City roster discussion, which will have to be out within the next 10 days. I think they have to make offers by the 22nd, but then they have to, for like anyone who
They
is like anyone who is a free agent, I think they have until the 22nd to make an offer to renew them before they become free agents. Anyone who has options, they have to let them know by December 1st if they are selecting the option, are the
Is
dates
it
that I
December
saw.
1st?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I think I saw today. So we should still know this month who we're keeping. And you and I have a lot of thoughts for that. I actually have a list for you that I'm going to send you of the people with options for this year. Um, but Celio is one of the guys that I think they're gonna pick up because he's unique and because not only that, but like he's a great locker room guy, right? He's always happy, he's always smiling, but when he's out there on the pitch, like he brings an intensity and a desire to play that is a core component of how this team is built. So I don't think you're gonna have to worry about that. I think he was. Oh, and in addition to the plays that you mentioned, I know he did not intend to score that goal, but oh my God, was that an amazing goal that he scored in that game.
I think the other play I want to highlight from him was when he came on the field and immediately had that tackle and
Mm-hmm.
sent the mesh. I mean, put the entire Kansas City team
Yeah,
on notice. Like, guess what? This is a new half, and we're here to play.
right. The game changed, motherfuckers. That's exactly what went through my mind watching it.
It reminded me of the Big Sam tackle.
Yes. Yeah.
It's that
That was
same
what
kind of tone.
that
The 30th.
against Kansas City, right?
It was
Yeah.
against Kansas City. It was the 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was against them. It was that same kind of tone setting tackle. Like, no, we're changing the intensity and we're about to ratchet
Right.
things up.
Right.
Um, I
I we just got really
there's
beat on the wing for this game.
we did we got beat on the wings, and actually both of their goals. It was transition moments were tough for us in these games,
Right.
and I think that really showed. It really kind of hurt us. And Dembe for Kansas City, I do want
He
to give
was
the guy was both
he was
games was a
so
menace.
great. Yeah. He was
But the
so
rest of the
great.
league won't have to worry about him through the playoffs because
Right.
he played on a torn ACL for like the last 30 minutes of the game
Right.
against St. Louis.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Like I
that's
don't know how that's
ridiculous.
you know what, man, like props to you. Like that is hard to do, period. Like not only from like a pain perspective, but also the fact like your knee and your like movements are not going to be working properly because you can't bend the way you're supposed to anymore without that ligament. And like that's just crazy to me. And he was the difference maker in this game for Kansas City.
He was the
Um
one who scored that first goal for Kansas City
mhm,
last time. Um,
right,
and I think it's evident to me that Kansas City has three designated players, right? They have all three of their DP slots filled at a
right.
lot of these big teams. And that's something that St. Louis City is not in a rush to fill, right? You don't go sign a DP just to sign a DP. It's got to be the right guy to fit in the system to do the things. Leuven is that guy, right? Leuven is an amazing
Right.
DP to have. Klaus, when he's out there, is amazing DP. Although, I love his passion and his want to get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes I feel like he gets a little too. He can sometimes be a negative
Right.
feeling force on the field as far as that like general like
Right.
how are we doing kind of guy. But he does hold people accountable. So I don't want to I don't want to lose all of that. But
Right.
there is a
Well,
certain bit of that it's okay, at what point, Klaus, do you realize like you gotta chill out, you want a striker who wants the
yeah.
ball, but you
Right.
also have to understand like if you don't get the ball every time,
Right.
take a breath.
Yeah. Well, and my other thing as far as the DPs go is so if we're not using the third DP slot, and there's rumors out there that Berkey is technically a DP, like classified as one, even though the team hasn't called him one. That it may make sense for them to go ahead and classify him as one this year from like a allocation money perspective. Um, but okay, so that third DP slot is supposed to be used on a young DP in theory. Um, and then if you use it on a young DP, or if you just don't use it, that gives you the three U22 slots that work basically as DPs, but at a lesser level. And when we talk about the roster construction and the changes that we need, I think that there are definitely guys out there that would qualify for U22 that we could probably still get cheaply and yet use these spots on them and improve areas that we struggled with this year. And so hopefully that is the plan to start using some of these mechanisms this winter. Lutz has indicated that there is a plan already for this transfer window, which is good to hear. He definitely seems to be he's definitely a forward thinking guy. I mean, you can see it from the way the team was built for its inaugural season. Like this was not your typical expansion team. Like they fought in every game. They were competitive in almost every game. Um, but yeah, I just would like to see us compete. I don't think we have to spend a lot of money to compete, but I think there are, we need to keep using these rules to help us.
Yeah, we need to take advantage of what's there. And again, we have the beauty of we're playing in the West, and we don't have to see Miami twice a year,
Yeah.
and aka Barcelona the over 30 Barcelona team.
That's
And
right. Barcelona over 30s.
it might be over 35, honestly, if I go check the ages, but we'll get
Yeah,
into that.
but they also have 3 U22s from South America that are supposed to be just like awesome. I mean, the one guy I think they've been a little unhappy with, but the other two have panned out immediately.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like,
And
use the mechanisms.
Miami is utilizing all of those mechanisms, and absolutely, I mean, they're taking advantage of everything they can. Then again, they did take advantage so much so that they broke some rules in the past, which had led to some fines and issues. But
Right.
neither here nor there. Again, and the last thing, right, with City that I want to say, and again, we'll get into more of this, and we're hoping to potentially do some uh, combo session with some of the other podcasts in the area about reflecting on the season as a whole for St. Louis City. But what an amazing first season!
Absolutely.
What an absolute amazing first season, amazing experience. Every game that I went to was absolutely a blast. The stadium was always sold out. The fans were there and were loud and obnoxious and ready to go. And there's just so much to be said for how many people that I see posting in the St. Louis City fan groups, right? That have like, I've never watched a professional soccer game a day in my
Right.
life, but now I am all in. And
Right.
my wife was like, hey, the NWSL championship game's on. Let's watch that, right? My wife is now all in on soccer and wants to watch whatever we can. And so,
Right.
I can see it in my own household, but even more so, I mean, just the entire city. I mean, I can't drive anywhere without seeing city stickers on cars or
Oh, yeah.
magnets, or it's amazing and it's exciting and I love it. And to see the way the city's supported the team, the way that the team has also embraced the city, it's been a magical first year. And I can't wait for January when, you start getting to the preseason, and then February when the Champions League starts.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little worried about the Champions League draw. We'll talk more about this when it gets closer, I think. But so the draw is based off of your results over the past 5 years, like which pot you get put into. And because we don't have 5 years worth of history, we are put in the bad team. Well, the worst teams pot. So there's a good chance we get drawn against some high quality competition, which is both good and bad. Bad because we want to go far in this tournament, but you're gonna have to beat them anyway. But good also because we get a chance to measure ourselves before the MLS regular season starts against very high level opponents. Um, so I don't know. It'll be what it's going to be. You got to play the best to win anyway. So why not just get it started, I guess.
I think it'll be exciting, and yeah, we'll definitely talk a whole lot more as we get a little closer. But I still think back to Club America, right?
Yep.
The absolute
Yep.
drubbing that we took when we played Club America, and that's the matchup. Honestly, those are the kind of matchups we need to figure out how to win,
Right.
and that's where we need. I think back to we need players who can do things that are different to be able to change the
Right.
game, change how teams play us. And
Right.
Celio comes to mind, but we need more than we need another player or two like Celio
Right.
that can help change that game in those type settings. And I'm curious to see what they do during the transfer window to address
Sure.
that, because not only does Celio play well off the dribble, but the guy's not afraid to press and get back on
Right.
defense and do all the little things too.
Right. Yeah. You have to be able to press to be on our team, right? Like you can't be on our team and be unable to press. And I was explaining this to someone at work a month or two ago about something about some of the bigger European teams came up, and I said, well, the thing you have to remember between like Liverpool is a team that really comes to mind that plays similarly to how we do, is that they have guys who can press, and they have guys and these same guys are also good with the ball at their feet. That's what brings them to the highest levels of the game. And right now, MLS is not at a point to have people like that can do both, right? At least have a lot of roster space on that. But if we're going to play our style, we have to be able to control games with the ball a little bit. I think just because like you don't have to have the ball to control the game, but when you have the ball, the other team doesn't. And like when I think about the Club America game, like they were able to play out of our press really well. And I think one of the ways we could have countered that is if we could have had a little bit of the ball ourselves a little bit. But I don't know. I'm not Lutz, I'm not coach. They're much better at this than I am. I'm not even going to pretend like I could could do that job.
I
Unlike
guess,
taking over from Mo.
yeah, no, I could take over for Mo a lot quicker than I could for Lutz or Carnell. I could take over for Ollie or Mo much easier.
Yeah,
On the flip side
absolutely.
of that, right? You said, like you said it, you have to be able to do well on both. And I think that's
Hmm.
where we have players that get a lot of hate because they can't do both.
Right,
And it's Jared Stroud comes to mind, right? The
right.
guy can press like an absolute maniac, but he is not good with the ball at his feet.
No,
And it just goes to highlight kind of that issue and that discrepancy. He's the perfect example of what,
right.
a lot of the players that are going to be available to us at various
Hmm.
times playing in the MLS, at least for the time
Right,
being. And the hope is with Messi and company coming over that maybe not just St. Louis, but MLS as a whole becomes a larger destination for a lot of these players.
right. Well, and the other thing, and I think this is the last thing I have to say about City before we move on to the Blues, is that um like okay, so this is our first year, right? So like yeah, we did an excellent job at finding these players that fit our system exceptionally well and whatever. But now we can start to fine tune that. We can start to find like, the marginal upgrades as you can, et cetera. Like, okay, this, Stroud may be really good. Well, here's another guy who can press about as well as Jared Stroud, but can also play a little bit with the ball. So like, okay, he's not that much more expensive, or maybe he's about the same price. And we can find those upgrades now as we go, and we can start looking for those small improvements that we need to continue to improve as a team. And the other thing, and I think you and I talked about this earlier on, St. Louis as a city has a history of producing strong soccer talent, and a lot of that talent is for American players relatively technically skilled. And so hopefully we can, and it sounds like they're doing this where they're kind of trying to reach into the development academies that have already existed with our infrastructure in the city. And if they can take these players that have already learned how to play and be technical and then teach them how to press in our system, like I think we could get, some really, really uniquely talented players through that merging of the two different ideologies. That's my hope, at least. But
No, I agree. And I think, a big player that, we haven't talked about a lot recently because he'd been hurt, but Miggy next year, if Miggy takes a big step forward next year, that
yeah,
is a huge deal for us as a team.
yeah,
And again, and not, we also have some other players like Marcanic and Nielsen who will get a full preseason and camp
yep.
in. And I think a lot of those things are going to make a big difference on our team this coming year. And I'm excited to see what year two brings. Again, I'm ready to top the West again. But
Always,
but I'm
always,
always ready. I'm always ready to win.
yeah.
Speaking of winning, St.
Winning,
Louis Blues last night went after the Colorado Avalanche, which I think of the Colorado Avalanche as the team that kind of sent our team into a downward spiral in that last playoff series, the year that the Avalanche won the cup 2 years ago,
right?
when the
Yeah,
Avalanche went and we were playing them tough and took out Bennington. Bennington missed the rest of the series, changed the scape, really the scope of that whole series, the way it looked. But for us to go in after losing to them last week at home to go back to Colorado and absolutely lay a shellacking on them was
oh yeah,
amazing.
yeah. That's just like I was like, okay, Avalanche, okay, probably, another loss. And then when I woke up today and I checked the score, I was like, first of all, I was like, holy shit, 8-2, wow. And then like I went and looked at it and saw that Shin and Bushnevich both had hat tricks, right? And that's only the third time that's happened for the Blues. And I mean, I know that we're one of the, I guess younger-ish teams, but
We were
I don't
a
know.
part of the first expansion in NHL.
Right, but weren't there how many teams were there before the expansion? Because I thought there was a fair amount of teams before that.
I'd have to look it up, but
I
so this is a
thought there
fun
were like
thing that the
15 or
NHL
16
did.
teams at that time.
They did a big expansion, and St. Louis
Right.
came in, and that was in the 60s, I
60s.
think.
Yeah.
And when they did the expansion, the new conference was only expansion teams.
Right.
So the
Right. I
Blues
remember that.
made 3 straight finals appearances right off the
Right.
bat.
Right.
But obviously, we're not ready to take on the big dogs, as they were just beating
Right.
the other expansion teams en route to get there.
Right. I
Um,
just thought they already
but
had
we've
like
been around
15
since for a
teams.
while. They
No, we've
did.
been
I
around
think
since
they
the
did.
60s, but that would make us still one of the younger half teams, is what I'm saying, roughly. But for in 60 years, that's only happened 3 times is kind of amazing. And I think the last time I saw was like 86. So it's the first time it's ever happened in our lifetimes. Um, so yeah, it's just crazy to see. And we need both of those guys to be hot if we're going to be successful this year. We need contributions from them on the sheets.
So I was doing a quick search onto
How many teams there were?
original stuff. It looks like there was the original 6 era started in
Right.
1942 after the Brooklyn Americans fell
Right.
out. So the Boston Bruins, Chicago Blackhawks, the Red Wings, Canadiens, Rangers, and Maple Leafs were
Right.
it until 67, when we doubled in
Oh,
size and
there you
added
go.
6 more teams from 6
There you
to
go.
12 in
6 to
1967.
12. Hmm.
And then in 1970, they added 2 more, and then they did 2 more for a couple of years for a while to
Right.
get up there, and then not till like 98 they had another big one. But yeah,
Hmm.
so we are one of the older teams. So
Right.
as we are in the top 12, I mean,
Top
we're
12. Right.
definitely.
Well, and I guess also, if you think about the other two major leagues, 3 major leagues, not, I'm excluding MLS for this because MLS is 30 years old almost. But if any team that came in around 1970 would be a really young team comparatively in the NFL or in the MLB.
Mhm.
So that's probably where I was getting that more so from. But yeah, that's crazy. I could have sworn there were more teams in the NHL prior to us joining, but the more you know.
Hey, so now we're teaching people things. We're learning them up good here on the Lunatic
That's right.
Sports
That's
Podcast.
right.
My
We're
mama
proof that you
homeschooled
don't
me, and I learned good.
we're proof that you don't actually need to know a whole lot about everything sports related to talk about sports. It's amazing.
Here's the thing. I feel like we have a good grasp on a little bit of a lot of things, and that may be due to our ADHD, which also probably comes out during these episodes as we jump around a little bit. But as I'm thinking more back to the game last night,
Right.
we dominated, and this is something that is concerning, and there's exciting and concerning pieces of this. Our special teams on the Blues are very hot and cold. Our penalty kill has been amazing. We have more shorthanded goals than we do power play goals. We have 1 power play goal this year still. We have got
Great.
to figure it
That's
out in the power play.
that's great.
On
That
the
makes
flip
me
side of
feel
that, it
so
makes me
happy.
feel better about committing penalties, because we have a better chance to score if we commit them than if we have a penalty against us. Maybe we should just be on the penalty kill all the time.
Shut up. Shut up. No. No, that's not a good plan. Look, I'm trying to find some more of the power play stats, but now I'm struggling for the website that I had before that had really good stats. Whatever. Yeah,
it's
I'm
it's
still just like
atrocious.
dumbfounded that you like suggested that, and like I know you're joking, but I also know you're joking and being kind of serious about it at the same
I'm
time.
I'm joking, but I'm also on the flip side thinking like, we're actually more dangerous on the penalty kill than we are on the power play.
Well, you know what it could be? It could be because our back is against the wall, right? I mean, so far it has felt kind of like we've played a, a little bit to the ability of who we're against. Um, we've had some close games against good teams, and then we've just dominated some other teams. So I think that could be a bit of it. Like, you're thinking, okay, you're down a man, like we're just gonna go for it here. But then like when you're on the power play, you have this kind of like you have the pressure of being up a player or two, right? And then suddenly, like playing with that pressure is a little bit different. You're not playing free. You're worried about making mistakes. And then because you're worried about making a mistake, you actually make a mistake, right? That happens in a lot of sports.
I think that's a big part of it. I think that there's a lack of being willing to get dirty and score the goals in the dirty ways. And I think that's where Buchnevich is a big player. I think why am I blanking on his name? The center we just signed at Walker. I want to say it's like what's his name?
Maybe.
It'll come back. It'll come to me here in a minute. But either way, but like that's where those guys really come into play. And how do we get in there? How do we get dirty and handle that? And I don't know what that looks like, right, as a whole, but we've got to be willing to get in front of the net. We've got to be willing to get those dirty goals. I think a great example, right, of getting dirty goals. How many times in that game that we were at, and this is a soccer related piece, but did we have a shot that Kansas City's goalie blocked in that rain-soaked game that we had nobody crash the net and there was a rebound
Right.
and it was just sitting there?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. In both sports, like that is a useful strategy. Just pepper the net. Things happen on rebounds because no one's in position to defend against it. And it's got to fall to someone, right? Like it's falling somewhere. So
Kevin Hayes is who I was
crush it.
thinking of, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, not only though were they good last night, but they've been pretty good here for a while. We've won 4 of our last 5 games, starting with our game against the Devils, which was like 10 days ago, I think.
Yeah, it's
2
like a
weeks
week.
ago.
Yeah, it was last week sometime. And the Devils are a good team. They have been this year.
Yeah.
So we
November
beat the
3rd.
Devils. Yep. So we beat New Jersey. Then we followed that up with a win against another Eastern Conference team. Remind me who, if you're looking at it. Okay.
Canadians.
Another team with a winning record in the Canadians. We lost to the Avalanche, and then we just came back and beat the Avalanche.
The Avalanche were the game before the Devils. We lost to the Jets in the middle there.
Oh, that's who it was.
Right. And then we beat
fucking Winnipeg.
Arizona as well. The Coyotes.
Yeah, nobody cares about the Coyotes.
This is kind of a sidebar. From far away, the Arizona Coyotes logo, like when it's like really small on the website, it always looks like the Anheuser-Busch logo to me. Like when it's really small.
Yeah, just like that looks like that. The blue note just looks like a flag in the distance to me. So, whatever.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just being a smartass because you're just saying things. So
I mean that's what we do. We just say things. But we've been on a bit of a heater, so hopefully this can continue. I do want to say our little bet update that we made. So right now, you are winning the bet. They are on pace for 94.6 points, which is greater than 92.5. So as it goes right now, that's right. Finger guns. I may be owing you beer, and I hope I do.
I hope you do too, because I could really go for another 4-pack of Brewligans since you got my last one.
Yeah. You know what would really suck though? Is if they still get over 92.5 points, but like they're in that like just not quite good enough to make the playoffs.
You know, I would still call that a successful season for this team after the
Yeah.
rebuild and everything we have going on,
Right.
right? My hope is to be just above that threshold and be fighting for the playoffs. If we don't make it, we don't make it. But if we're fighting down to the end, down to the wire, I'm okay with that as a good season. With what we're dealing with the rebuild we have, I do have a concern though,
What's that?
and I don't know if you've seen this. There are two teams that they have been rumored to be reaching out to Army about Bennington.
Yes. Yes, I did see that. I don't know how. I mean, teams reach out about players probably all the time. The thing is like, why do you hear about it? Right? Are you hearing about it because it's like being seriously considered? Or are you like hearing about it because one of the teams, wanted to throw it out there and see what kind of, buzz that could get for, is this something likely to happen? Like that's another thing that sometimes will occur. Um,
I also have the
see,
thought of are they throwing it out there because there's no other rumored trades being
well,
talked about right now?
right. And I'm fine with that too. This team needs Bennington. Like I do not want Bennington to go. I mean, hell, Colorado still had 38 shots against us. Like that's a
Yeah,
lot of shots.
Bennington had 36 saves last night. So I mean, like,
Right.
it's not like we didn't have our own set of issues going on last night defensively. I mean, they still got their chances. We just capitalized on ours better than they did.
Right.
Um,
How many did the
I
Coyotes
think
have?
I think
Only
one of the
20.
things that I would like to kind of highlight is there's still one player that we're not hearing a lot of that I would like to hear more from. And I'm not even going to get into the big name players, right? Kyrie needs to do more, and we're not seeing
Right.
it. That's fine. Thomas's name is showing up in the stat lines, and you're
Yeah.
seeing it. He's doing his part. He's not, shooting the lights out, but if
Thomas.
he's playing a full 200-foot game, I'm not worried about it.
Right.
Verana,
Thomas is doing
Jakub
okay.
Verana, I want to see more from him. I know he has
See
it in him,
when
and I'm eager to see, especially like last night, right? We had 8 goals last night. His name didn't show up on a goal or an assist once.
Yeah, so I'm
I could be
looking.
wrong, but I believe it didn't show up at all.
No, he did have an assist against Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm pulling up for the Avalanche. No, he did have 2 shots. But that was it. He only played he was only out there for 11:30. So for the forwards, that's the second least of the forwards for that game. But it's not like that dramatically less than some of the other guys. So I mean, he was out there. But yeah, we definitely need Verana to step up.
He's a player that should and has the skill set to be able to feast on these lower lines. And if we start to see more of that from him, we're going to see our team start to hit a different gear.
Yeah, he has so far this season. He has 5 points, 1 goal, 4 assists, and he's got a plus minus of +2. So, but we still need more.
I think
Always
he's
need more.
capable of more, right? And I think that's it, right? I'm throwing he's young, he's technically unproven at the NHL level. I mean, he had a short spurt at the end of last season, but knowing what he's potentially capable of, I want to see more from him. I want to see him be that guy. And I want to hear more from Perunovic as well. I know we've talked a lot about Perunovic, and I still think he's the future. He's the replacement for Torrey Krug. And where Torrey Krug turned down that trade offer, that meant that Perunovic was not going to be taking that spot yet. But I still think he needs to be fighting and trying to push for that spot and take Torrey Krug's job, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean that's a good problem to have, right? Is when you have competition going in your team and you have, a serviceable player and the guy behind him you think will be better and he's hungry enough to perform to take it from, like that's what you want. That's part of why I think City was so successful this year, is because everyone on the team was hungry for playing time, and everyone on the team was forcing their way into the conversation, by their performance. And whenever they slipped, there was always someone else ready right behind them to step up.
Ask John Nelson what happens when you lose your spot.
Absolutely. And then he got hurt towards the end of the year, supposedly. I don't think we're going to keep Nelson next year, but I do think that if we went to a true 3 center back look with wing backs, Nelson could be very good for us.
He could. I don't think he's going to want to return after not seeing the field after his red card.
Yeah, I agree with you. Speaking of soccer and the Blues, though, who else has been getting on the score sheet a little bit? Sonny.
Yes. Oscar Sundquist is looking good, and he is a big St. Louis City fan. Speaking of St. Louis City and the Blues, did you see who was at the last Blues home game? A guy by the name of Bradley Carnell was sitting a few rows off the ice.
Yes. I thought you were going to say Berkey, and I was like, I didn't see Berkey at the game. Yeah, I psyched myself out there.
Yeah, there you go. You're overthinking it. So
I am.
Speaking of overthinking, we are coming up on time and running out of things to say. So before we sound like complete dumbasses, we're probably going to cut us off here unless you have something more to add, John.
I do not.
If you love
I think we hit
if you love / like our stuff, be sure to follow, like, and subscribe so that we can keep this content coming. More importantly, we did just beat the Avalanche. So guess what? Stan Kroenke, we hate you and good night.
Not ready. I'll edit it out. Maybe.